Hi, it's Rogue, and today we are gonna talk extensively about the upcoming quality of life and gameplay updates that Behavior has for us going through the entirety of 2025. Now, rest assured, we have been asking for this for years. Some of these things for the full 9 years since Dead by Daylight came into existence, and we're only getting this now not because the devs finally listened, but because Five Nights at Freddy is coming as a chapter, and that is gonna bring a fuck-ass lot of new players into the game, which understandably the devs don't want to be subjected to the same suffering that we get subjected to, because they are new players. They want them to stick around. We are already sticking around, so they don't need to do this for us. They're doing this for them. But hey, we are gonna benefit from it anyway, so let's delve into it. First of all, we are gonna get an anti-slugging/surrender option. Now, this is not exactly an anti-slugging option. What is gonna happen is that you can give up. As a killer or survivor, you can just say, nah, I'm out, just because the game is lost and they don't want you to waste more time on a lost game, which is very nice, but the conditions in which this is gonna trigger are a little bit questionable for me. First of all, as survivor, you can do this and go next if every remaining survivor in the trial has been slugged. Now, as nice as it is, this is not the only condition in which you are gonna wait for 4 minutes on the ground. It's gonna be even worse when the killer slug for the 4K, or one person is on hook and that person just doesn't wanna give up. You're still gonna be on the floor for like over 2 minutes. So why not including all of these conditions too? If everyone is on the floor and one person is being chased, maybe you wanna give the match instead of having them juice the killer for 4 minutes because that's the only way they can do it. Slugging for the 4K is petty, and I know that there are achievements and there is stuff tied to it, but just make the game a little bit more enjoyable for everyone and rework that shit. For the killer, it's a little bit different. You will be allowed to go next when every remaining survivor is a bot. Which, sure, no one wants to play against 4 AIs unless they're doing a custom game, but I cannot help but see the difference in the conditions in which the killers and the survivor can surrender. Basically, the survivors can go next when the killer is bullying them. I don't see any other way of bullying the survivors as killer besides slugging them all. But the killer does not have an option to go next when the survivors are bullying them, which, let's be real, it's gonna be pretty important for new players. New players are gonna get bullied by bully squads that lower their MMR on purpose by losing every game in order to blind and stun and head on the killer as many times as possible. And if you're new to the game, you don't know what's happening. You don't know how to counter it. There is a reason these people stay at low MMR. This is not something that works against more experienced killers. So I think if you are allowed to surrender if the killer is bullying you, you should be allowed to surrender if the survivors are bullying you. But let me know what you think about this. Second is gamma settings. This is great. As a PC player, I can adjust my gamma settings, my brightness, contrast, vibrance, whatever I want, either through reshades or NVIDIA filters. And if you could be able to do this in-game, we could just ban NVIDIA filters and reshade and put an end to the ongoing question of, are filters cheating? No, they're not cheating because now they're optional in-game. After asking for it for months, we are gonna get a go next prevention system. Apparently, Behavior is confident that their system is gonna help alleviate the issue, because I can assure you content creators and players have been talking about this for a very long time, and coming up with a solution is really hard. A lot of people, especially survivor, go next at the most minor inconvenience. I have had people going next on spawn against my trapper on Hero Crows, which, if this doesn't tell you something, I don't know what will. Apparently, Behavior has found a way to identify every instance of survivors not interacting with the normal gameplay. One suggestion to fix this has been to prevent people from trying to unhook themselves unless they have unhook related perks, which sure is nice, but people will find another way to not play the game. And Behavior says that they have a solution for all of this. They have found a way to consistently identify people that do not participate in the normal gameplay, logging in to play the game and not actually being able to play the game because you always have a teammate, you always have a survivor going next, never actually playing a real 1v4. It's annoying, it's boring, and if they actually have a solution that works, that's great. I am open to everything at this point. There will also be rewards for people that stick through the match. They will get blood point multipliers, while the people that give up and don't actually play will get a DC penalty and lose an entire grade, which I hope it's a deterrent enough. We are finally getting a fix for hiding and body blocking. So body blocking is the very unpleasant situation in which a survivor or the killer physically blocks another survivor in a corner where they cannot go through the killer or survivor hitbox that is blocking them. For years, the community has said, well, when someone gets AFK crows, just remove their collision so that they can go through. And it took 9 years, but we're actually getting that, exactly like that. Kudos to Behavior for thinking about this incredibly hidden and unthinkable solution. Extreme hiding instead is a real problem for new players. If you're experienced, you probably never encountered this, but look back at your first days and months in DBD, you probably encountered this a lot. Survivors seeing that the game is lost, there are a lot of gens to do, and just 2 survivors remaining, just hiding. And unless you see a crow flying or something, you're never gonna catch them, because it doesn't matter how good you are at the game, they are not seeing to any objective. There's no way to know where their brain brought them. Having a way to prevent this and to actually show the survivors very early in their process of hiding, that would be very nice. I assume it's connected somehow to the same algorithm that finds out if you're playing the game or not. I'm curious. I hope it's not just based on conspicuous action, because just as you can drop and pick up an item continuously right now in order not to get crows, you can start cleansing a totem in order to perform a conspicuous action, and you're never getting AFK crow. So yeah, I hope it's a little bit deeper than that, but we'll see. I've seen a lot of content creators saying that none of these changes is for killer, but spawn rules changes and map offering balancing is gonna be huge for killer. First of all, map offerings are not gonna be a guaranteed anymore. They're gonna enhance your chance of getting the map by 20%, which sure, you could get it, but you could way more likely not get it. And this is not gonna be stackable, so it doesn't matter if you play with a Fool's Wave, everyone bringing Year of Crows, fuck you. Stick your fucking Year of Crows maps up your ass. I don't wanna see them anymore, ever. The thing that perplexes me is that these offerings, as well as several others, are gonna be a secret. Now I can see why the maps are gonna stay a secret, but knowing which other offerings are gonna be played face down is gonna influence my judgment on this specific change a lot. And then spawn rules. So basically, this is base kit corrupt intervention at the cost of 1 generator. As of now, survivors can spawn following different criteria. The worst spawn for killer is when they all spawn far away from each other. That can lead to pretty frustrating cases in which every survivor starts working on a different generator, and by the time you're down 1 person, 3 gens are done. Survivors are, in most cases, just gonna stick to their spawn. So by making them spawn all together, it says in 12 meters of one another and all on the same floor if the map has multiple floors, they would just stick to the first generator they see. Best case scenario for them, they're gonna split and have 2 people on 2 different generators. This is huge for killer, and there will be way more matches when this is gonna be implemented where no gen is gonna pop by the time you get a down. Yes, maybe you lost 1 gen immediately before finding anyone, but then the match is gonna slow down to a crawl because all of your perks are gonna come into play and they have nothing started. And then we have improved AFK bots detection. In order to understand what this is, you have to go back to your first month in Dead by Daylight, when you most definitely encountered killer players just being AFK and swinging at nothing. Those are bots that are used to just farm eerie shards and then sell the accounts, because getting shards does not depend on what you do in the trial, but instead it depends on how much time you spent in the trial. This is already something that Behavior can identify and ban, but apparently they're gonna do it better from now on, and that's really nice for new players because it's kind of frustrating to spawn in a match. You're curious, to see which killer it's gonna be. It's your first time playing Dead by Daylight, and it's just an AFK raid in a corner. Not the best. And now we have some quality of life changes. First of all, bulk blood point spending. A lot of people that play DBD a lot, so streamers or people that just enjoy the game, play it for 10 hours a day, complain that spending blood points is a tedious operation. And it is, it really is. Having the possibility of just selecting a certain amount of blood points, maybe prioritizing also some offerings or items or add-ons, and just click spend, that's gonna be huge for some people. A new quest system. Currently, I think the archives are fine. If you take a look at the compendium and the old archives, there is some really boring shit. Like currently I'm doing a challenge to complete 12 generators, which, okay, I'm gonna do these 12 generators at some point, but that's boring. While the challenges that come on now are a little bit more manageable. Cleanse 1 totem, complete 1 generator, like, yeah, sure. That's better. Still, it's not extremely fun. And don't let me start it on dailies. Dailies are really boring. Do this amount of dash attacks as the pig. Hit this amount of people as Legion. Like, if it's for a killer or a survivor that you actually play, you're just gonna do it. Otherwise, you just have to pick up a character that you don't enjoy and to get what, 30,000 blood points? My dailies usually just stay there. I don't really care. I hope we're gonna get a new, more interactive, more fun quest system, possibly with some better rewards, because as of now it's just blood points. Could be nice if it was shards, maybe some cosmetic recolors, and we're gonna get more perk presets. What that refers to is this. These are perk presets where you can equip whatever you want and have different ready loadouts. I would love to have more of these and more cosmetic presets so that I can switch between my favorite things without having to unequip and re-equip perks and cosmetic pieces. And finally, you will be able to preview your perks in lobby. Now, this is a beta feature that has been under testing for a while. A friend of mine has it. What you get is basically a small square right here where I'm pointing that shows you the perks that you have equipped. But I failed to see the reasoning behind this, unless this is to the purpose of showing you the perks of your teammates in lobby. But if it's just for itself and that's where they're gonna stop, that's a bit weird. Now remember, the entire team is working on this. As Behavior themselves stated, to accommodate for the scope of this initiative, we have decided to delay several of our upcoming releases, including chapters, rifts, events modifiers, and collections. Meaning that the entire team, from the people designing killer powers, to the people fixing maps, to the people implementing and designing cosmetics, they're all working on this. Meaning that possibly a lot of things are gonna be improved and fixed that are not announced, from the sounds that some cosmetics are missing, the effects, the clipping that you see while equipping some of this, and maybe the killer changing stance or animation. A map collision is probably gonna get improved. Everyone is working on this. Do I believe that they're gonna fix everything? No, but at least they're trying. Everything we've been talking about though is gonna be just phase 1 of this alt operation. Phase 2 is gonna start in July and it's gonna have even more improvements for anti-slugging, which again, it wasn't anti-slugging to begin with, but hey, that's the name they've given to it, and fine, I guess. That's gonna be monitored and improved. We're gonna get more anti-camping, which I think is needed considering that some killer can camp from pretty far away. More anti-tunneling, which I instead don't think is needed. You can only hold the survivor's hands up until a certain point. After that, maybe they should learn not to go down in a dead zone, because I think that currently anti-tunneling is great. It's even too strong against M1 killers. And, well, it's useless against Nurse and Blight, but that's because they are Nurse and Blight. Have you ever thought of maybe changing those killers instead of having everyone else suffer because of them? There's gonna be an MMR update, which I hope is gonna fix the problem where people with a bunch of 100 hours on killer face players with thousands and thousands of hours consistently. This happened to me and it was extremely frustrating. And if I was any less stubborn than I am, I would have probably given up Dead by Daylight back in the days. So I hope they're gonna improve their MMRs so that people that are relatively new don't have to go against people that have years in the game. Maps and keys as items are gonna get changed. Nice, because they're extremely expensive and very useless. Unless you have a wall hacking key, which is maybe a little bit too strong. And we're gonna get more quality of life. Keyboard and mouse on consoles, hopefully on Switch too. I would love to play on Switch. Custom game improvements. All I want from custom games is being able to spawn alone. I want to be able to explore the map without having gens popping in the background. I want to be able to try to hug tech or whatever the fuck I want to do on a tile without having bots running around. Let me spawn on my own. Please, that's all I want. But a lot of people want a lot more things, especially people organizing tournaments, of course. So I hope we're gonna get all of it. Accessibility improvements are very needed. Have you ever tried to play this game without audio? It's basically impossible because 90% of your queues are gonna be audio cues, especially if you're playing Survivor. And on Killer, well, it's very hard to track if you cannot hear. There's a lot more disabilities that I'm not considering right now, but that make it really hard to play this game. I know that there is a part of the consultant team that is dedicated to accessibility and comprises people with different disabilities, so I hope this is gonna be a banger and it's gonna put everyone on equal ground. We're gonna get prestige rewards, which it was about time. I hope this is not gonna be a P100 reward. I hope you're gonna get little rewards for every little milestone, like P10, P20, so on and so forth. And I hope it's gonna be a really nice cosmetic for P100 because people got Legacy back in the days for way less of a grind. Yeah, they're gonna tell you that getting Legacy was very hard because you have to get to P3, and back in the days the Blood Web was way more expensive. Yeah, it was not as expensive as getting 100 prestige levels, my brother in Christ. And finally, reduce login steps. In case you're wondering what this is, when you boot up Dead by Daylight, there's gonna take some time between that and actually getting in the lobby screen where your killer is looking at the campfire. They are looking into making that a little bit shorter, which is nice because it's pretty long, especially on console and Switch in particular. I think these are overall really good changes, and I most definitely hope they're gonna keep talking to the community and their consultants to improve them over and over and finally give us a healthy, not buggy, not laggy, not frustrating game. But hey, tell me what you think about it. I'm very, very curious. It's a lot of stuff, and I'm sure everyone has a lot of very different opinions that I'm very willing to hear.